What's up, Yuma? Johnny Porter. I got a little bit of feedback. Better now. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the first show. This is what happens. This is all good. We're gonna figure stuff out. It's all right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So welcome to the first ever What's Up Yuma radio show. I am your host, Johnny Porter. My co-host over here is none other than Ronnie from Ronnie's Remedies. Say hi.
Hi, I'm Ronnie.
And you write an advice column for the Yuma Sun.
Yep. It comes out every Saturday, and I answer 3 questions, and I give all sorts of advice.
Yeah, so we're going to be diving into that a little bit as we go. This is everything that's positive in Yuma. That's what we're going to cover. Community events, rising stars, and even some old stars. And I'm talking about our guest right now. Okay, you're not rising it. You've risen already, Russ.
I hope so. I hope so. I'm not giving advice today, though.
No, I hope not. Because, people would turn off the radio right away. But anyway, Russ, you're our first guest. And the reason why...
Honored.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm excited.
And the reason why I did that is because the first time I ever cracked the mic was on your radio show.
Yes, I remember it well.
Yeah.
Very green, but very eager.
Yeah. And a little bit of an explanation for those that don't know. I filled in with my business partner at the time who worked there. He was in the, I think the engineering department or something. And Cody Beeson. You had to go on vacation.
Well, I was and I was running for political office and couldn't go on air.
Oh, okay.
So George Braun came in, Cody Beeson, all those people.
Yeah. So I was asked to be the co-host, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So I went for that week, and then when our time was up, I didn't leave.
Yeah. They're like, you no longer can be here. You just wouldn't leave.
No, I wouldn't.
I kept him.
Oh,
I kept him.
You liked him.
So, and the way it went was, I sat down and first I listened. It was all about listening.
I enjoyed those days.
When I didn't talk.
Yeah, it was good.
So at first it was a lot of listening, and I remember chiming in every once in a while. And then I don't know how long it was into that. You said, "Why are you still here?" and the way it went was, I said, "I want to learn."
Yeah. And
you said what?
Well, I'd be happy to do that, but we talked a lot after the show. We talked during breaks sometimes, and about content and about direction and about the different aspects of the show. And you wanted to find your own way, and sometimes you're bullheaded, but that's good. That's what it takes.
That's why Ronnie's here.
That's right. Well, it's funny because Johnny would describe it a lot differently. You're like, we talked in the break, and Johnny's like, no, he would yell at me, and he would tell me my arguments sucked.
I thought this was a happy show.
We're gonna keep it a positive, but no, there was some of that. There was definitely some of that when you would turn it off and they're like, hey, do you want to sound like an idiot? Is that what the aim is here?
I think that's a quote.
Yeah,
that's okay. That's your hashtag.
And but no, you said you helped me form my my views.
Sure.
And you taught me communication.
And one that you could communicate over the air and put it in such a fashion that people can see and feel what you're feeling and not beat it to death.
Yeah, because those early days, I was really emotional.
Yeah, and you were trying to win an argument versus give out information. And you couldn't win. I controlled the mics.
Well, that's true. That's true. And so I just wanted to say that the reason why I believe is because you weren't always a great communicator. Talk a little bit about that, Russ.
Oh, I was horrible. I was a social hermit and diagnosed in 1987 by Dr. Helm in Atlanta, Georgia. I worked for a large corporation. They sent me to see how I would be as an advanced manager. And I was a social hermit. I had to get out and communicate. I turned down every speaking engagement in my life up until that point. I rode home on that jet back to Florida and said, I'll never turn down another engagement. I joined Dale Carnegie and I started in a class and then became an assistant and became an instructor in Dale Carnegie to break out of that shell and to understand communications.
Yeah. And understanding communication, because I was naturally a talker, right? So I thought because I can talk that I would be good on radio.
That doesn't mean anybody's listening.
No, right? And it doesn't mean that you're getting your point across.
Right.
Well, to talk, you have to listen. Exactly what you're saying, like active listening skills. You can't just talk at somebody and expect them to hear you. You know, it's like it's a two-way street. It's a tennis match. You go, I go.
Correct. sometimes we all forget that at times.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's listening is key, and then being able to formulate ideas that's structured for someone to understand versus how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I didn't fully introduce you. You have your own radio show. You were on the radio this morning,
yes,
6 a.m. And you've been doing that for how many years now?
25 years.
25 years.
Yeah, 3 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is that all been here in Yuma?
Correct.
Awesome.
Correct.
That's awesome.
I never wanted to be on radio.
Yeah. It was like,
it was
no way.
Just one of those things when I said I'd never turn down another speaking engagement.
Yeah.
They fired Chia Valdez in 1999, and she was running the show for 3 hours. They called me again because I'd popped into the station a few times, said, could you run it for me till we find somebody? They never found anybody.
So the person that was doing the radio show, the morning show,
was Chia.
Chia got fired, and
she got fired on a Friday. Monday morning, it was my show.
And since they were familiar with you, they asked you to fill in until they found somebody.
But I didn't know anything about it, but I just knew I would handle it. I'm not going to turn it down.
And then they never found anybody.
Nope, never did. I'm still there.
You're
Just
just
kept you.
I think they're still looking, though. I think actually, I heard
looking actively.
Yeah, I think they're still looking for somebody. But yeah, so you were able to take advantage of that opportunity because you did spend some time with communication and building yourself up.
But then I had a lot to learn, though. And what I did is I started studying different methodologies of people communicating, from Howard Stern and Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, whatever. And I would emulate that for a week. For a week, I would talk like a sportscaster. And then the next week I would talk like Rush Limbaugh, and I'd use some of his vocabulary, some of his inflections, and try to do that. And from that, I developed my own style.
So you learned from people that already paved the way.
Sure.
And mimicked until you developed who we know as Russ Clark today.
One week I did Jim Rome. You know Jim Rome?
I remember Jim Rome. Yeah. He was big in sports.
Yeah, big. It's just like don't be a Mensa or something, and all that. So I had to look all that up.
Yeah.
I figured it all out.
Definitely.
But I would talk like Jim Rome for a week.
Wow.
And force myself to do that cadence and do some of that vocabulary. And that forced me to start figuring out who I want to be and how I want to be on the radio.
How long did that take till you finally got comfortable?
I probably did that for a month or two, doing that. But when I first started doing radio, I was in a room with no windows and no phones, and I would do a 3-hour monologue every day.
Wow.
That's how I started from day one.
A 3-hour monologue.
So you're just talking to yourself for 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Huh. But it was a great opportunity and to practice and try different different directions. And at the time we were number 7 out of a 7 radio ratings. We were number 7, and we ended up over a few years moving it up to number 1.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Very impressive. And so you've been doing 25 years now.
Yeah.
And not only do you do the radio show, you also help teach communication currently right now to those that are a part of the Miss Yuma County pageant organization. Talk a little bit about that and how you got involved with that.
My daughter came to me after she graduated high school and says, I want to be Miss Yuma County. And I go, oh, no.
No.
Yeah, so I went and checked it out on the training methodology and what they were doing. I went back to my daughter and I said, if you let me train you on stage presence and communications and answering questions and all that, you'll be fine. So I trained her, and she won her first year.
Wow.
Her very first year.
Very green, very first year, jumped right into it, won the whole thing. And after that, I started training most everybody. And my daughter was chairman of that organization for 10 years. For 10 years, I do all the MC work on the day of the pageant, and I train all of the contestants.
Yeah. Is that important to you to be able to not only obtain that communication skill, but also to help others learn how to communicate and with Miss Yuma County, it's all about communicating their platform.
None of us grew up without mentors, Johnny. We all have them. I had them. And one was a Superior Court Judge Bush out of Dover, Delaware, that told me I had to go to college. And I wasn't college bound. I was not in that mold. But eventually it sunk in. And after I graduated college, was starting my career and working in Tampa, Florida, he calls me. He says, you know, all those years I spent with you, Russ, you have to pay me back. And I go, oh, no.
So, like, you were keeping a tally?
Like, oh, my gosh. And and the way I pay him back is to mentor other people like I did you.
Yeah.
And I've never stopped doing it, and I've done it ever since. So every time I do it, I think of Superior Court Judge Bush.
Okay, so when I said I'm going to stick around, he was in the back of your head.
I said, "Oh no, Judge, sure I should be able to get this done." Yeah,
you were like, "Oh yeah, here we go."
Gave me the hardest case.
Yeah, I was being tested.
And how I was, I was familiar with speaking. I staged because I was a rapper.
Sure, but you were a thug.
No, he would say that for a while, but no, I was not a thug. I was not at all. But in the hip hop music, that was your only reference for it.
But yes, that's what you knew, and that's what you experienced, and that was all you really wrapped yourself around. But you expanded and you grew from there. That's good.
Yeah. So, and I really am grateful for that judge to give you that. Right. That mandate in life, because I took it serious. I was somebody that wanted to be in radio. Here I am today. And I am here because you took the time to shut the mics off and say, "Hey, come on, what are you doing? Say it this way." And people are going to take you serious.
Oh, exactly. And I like the training and all, but we're still running a live show. Yeah. And so sometimes I had to be a little expedient.
It's like what's happening. Like, you mentored him, Johnny. I told him, like, he's my mentor. I called him my Russ.
Wow.
He called you his mentor. I was like, well, you're like my Russ now.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'm here to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm grateful that Ronnie stepped up to the plate. She wanted to learn. And just like you did for me, the judge did for you.
It's right.
You turn off the mics and yell at her?
We go on a really long break. Pray for me. Like,
No, I don't think today's the first day, so who knows what happens when we go to break. And you know what? We're going to do that. We're going to do that right now. So coming up after a short break, we're going to continue our conversation with Russ Clark.
What's Up Yuma is sponsored by Yuma Electric Service, LLC, serving the Yuma area for more than 25 years. Specializing in residential and commercial wiring, services also include EV charging unit installs and solar-ready service panel upgrades. Information and consultation appointments at yumaelectricservicellc.com.
Coming up this week on High Country Celtic Radio, 4th of July is right around the corner, so we're going to celebrate U.S. Independence Day with a Celtic show featuring all-American artists.
Tune in each week to High Country Celtic Radio from the high deserts of Nevada, where your hosts, Joe Bly and me, Katie Marie, bring you tunes and songs from across the 7 Celtic nations and around the world.
Wednesday evening at 7 on KOFA 94.7 FM. Good morning. This is Cecilia Holland-Braithwaite, one of the hosts for Morning Edition on KAWC, just bringing you some updates from our KAWC newsroom. On this episode of the Arizona Edition podcast, you can hear an anniversary for Pell Grants, the Humane Society of Yuma's summer camp, Colorado River water negotiations, and Arizona Supreme Court Justice Maria Elena Cruz. You can also access the new podcast from our student newsroom called The Hotspot. You can go to kawc.org or access those podcasts through the KAWC KOFA app. It's going to be hot and dry in Yuma, Kingman, Prescott, and Flagstaff today. In Yuma, we're expecting a sunny, hot day with a high of 114 degrees, going down to a breezy evening with a low of 84. In Kingman, it'll go up to 101 degrees. Mostly clear tonight with a low of 75 in Prescott, mostly sunny and hot with a high of 98 and a low of 65 in Flagstaff. We're going up to 90 degrees, partly cloudy tonight with a low of 49.
Oh, good to go. All right, cool. I didn't know if we were going to, it's again, the first show. I didn't know if
There's
we were
no
going to
hand signal?
No, I'm saying, I thought there would be music as well,
Oh,
but
okay.
we're learning here,
Yes.
right? We're learning. And that's what we're talking about today is the learning. And you, Russ, taught me a lot. And so that's why I thought it would be fitting to have you on the show. So thank you. And I want to say this on air. Thank you so much for doing that.
Don't stop learning. There's
Yeah.
lots to do, and I think we do it every day.
Yeah.
I need to learn from you, though.
Yes, we were talking
You know,
about
relationships.
before we went on air.
and we're definitely, as the show goes, we're
Yeah.
definitely going to be doing that. That's going to be a part of the show. So if you need advice, Russ,
Send me a question. We'll answer it on the air.
Long talk.
Yeah. Send it. So how has it been working with the women, the young ladies in Miss Yuma County.
They're very appreciative, and it's amazing how some of these ladies have gone on to do fantastic jobs. I mean, going into different industries, making more money than I ever made. I was like, wow, you're doing really good. But it's about confidence. It's about building confidence. You can't ask a girl for a date or a guy for a date or go buy a car, ask a bank loan, whatever. It's all about communications, and we don't teach it really in school. It's not part of school, which I was doing that in high school. I'm teaching it for my son when he was in high school. I would go and teach some classes. Some teachers invited me to teach speech. And I've done it for the Chamber of Commerce. I've done it for a lot of politicians. But communications is really something we all think we know because we know the language.
Yeah.
But we really don't know the communications on getting somebody to really picture what we're talking about and convincing somebody, debate skills, those things.
Yeah. So I know with Miss Yuma County, again, they talk about their platforms. So they have to pick a platform and then do a good job communicating that platform to the audience and to the judges. What advice do you give them first off?
Is to stop practicing a canned speech and be yourself a little bit, relax. Because the person that's going to win is the ones that walks up to that podium, that lectern, like they've been there before, they own it, and they're relaxed and they're comfortable. They ask the judges, hey, how you doing today? You know, that kind of stuff versus reading a script or being nervous and looking like a robot when they look around.
So did you encounter that a lot early on?
I scream at them, John.
No, I don't think you do. But you do have to get them out.
I distract them. I try to distract them. I'll play with my dog while they're doing it. I'll throw the ball for my dog while they're doing it, like I'm not paying attention.
So they have to stay engaging.
I've turned up loud music so loud that they can hardly hear. And I said, well, I can't hear you, speak louder, and make them scream.
So this is like beauty boot camp.
It's boot camp, baby.
That's a new name. We should call it
that's what Russ does, beauty boot camp.
I like that. That's right. But they come out of that with such a, they've been through it all before. They've seen it. They've been distracted. And the worst thing you could do is get on that stage and someone distracts you. You don't know what to do.
Exactly.
I get them all over that.
Yeah.
I distract them like crazy.
There's going to be that crying baby right when you go to talk. Or that person that gets up to go to the bathroom, you know?
Yeah, there'll be there'll be distractions as they do it. So you get them ready for it.
Sure. Yeah, the show must go on. You keep going, you pick it up, you go. And you got a message to do, and just be comfortable and be yourself and be calm. And I have a lot of girls that'll come back and call me years later and talk to me about it, and, about the success they've had and how Miss Yuma County pageant kicked them off, and how that training, that understanding, that stage presence, and all that interaction that they did was valuable. A lot of people think it's like a beauty contest. It's not.
Well, no, we did say beauty boot camp, but it's not a beauty contest.
No. Yeah, he said that's fair.
It's fair. It's okay, but that's not really the crux of it. Yeah. And it's scholarship program.
Yeah.
But really it's about learning life program and learning to be comfortable on stage and command business, command your surroundings and who you are. And they learn that in spades, and they get very comfortable wearing the crown and the sash. I wouldn't be.
I'd love to see that. When you do your show tomorrow and stream it, wear a crown and sash.
Yeah. No, I actually I had to do an event. You helped set up for that event here recently, and we had there's different ones now. There's like Miss Yuma County, there's Miss Ocean to Ocean.
Sure.
And I think it was Miss Ocean to Ocean or somebody that she was there helping us with the event.
Great lady.
Yeah, because that's some of the things that they teach is like you're going to go out and do community service, help people out. And she was great at communicating. So did you work with her as well?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've been working less and less. My daughter's not the chairman anymore. So, and they've got some very competent, very good people. In fact, some people that I've trained are running it now. And,
really?
And they really great. And they don't pick up the old guy anymore too much, sometimes for the hard cases.
So if somebody else was interested in learning and communicating, I know when I sat under your show, people would walk in and some people would say, can I sit here? Can I learn? Do you still offer that?
Of course.
You do?
Yeah. Awesome. Quite often people want to learn, and I learn something every time. And it makes me grow. Every time somebody sits down, I want to know more about what they're thinking and what's going on, and still stay in touch. You know how many politicians and stuff get out of touch? I don't want to be that guy. Keep learning.
So somebody young comes in, different ideas, different mindset.
I'm always curious.
You're game to learn and kind of dive into why do you think this way?
And Johnny, there's more positiveness and more great kids out there than you can ever imagine. You know, we see things that are, negative sometimes that about why aren't the scores better? Why aren't the kids better? That kind of stuff. Look there's kids out there that will blow you away with competence and with ability and they live here. So yeah, if one of those wanders in and wants to know more about radio, I'm all in.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so a lot of the, so what we're going to do here is feature local people, rising stars, people on the up and up. So hopefully we get some of your students, people that learned under you, come in here and be a part of this radio
because I'm
program.
a dimming star, maybe. I don't know.
What is that?
You're up there to stay.
What is it? A supernova? That's
maybe that's it.
Or like black hole. Like we don't know.
It's getting worse.
So I have a question. So you met Johnny how many years ago?
At least 10, 15. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Johnny, 15 years ago to today, what's the biggest change?
He's married happily.
Yeah. but what else? Seriously, go ahead.
But no, your confidence has grown. Your ability to listen is hugely better. Rather than you trying to tell everybody how the world is, you're listening to see how it really is. Because you're outside that bubble and you've expanded your horizons. And I think you've got more understanding of the world at large, and you want to be a part of it all and not just part of a small section.
Awesome.
So I think you've really developed, really gone out.
And I will say it did take a while to earn your respect in that fashion. It did.
Look, the respect was always there, but there was also an understanding that you were limited to the rap group, and that's what you emulated, and that's what you saw and what you understood, and that probably kept you off the streets at one time.
Well, absolutely. So that was my biggest communication platform was rapping. That's how I was able to relate and get my point across, is I did it through music. And
can I know your rap name?
One of them, okay, I'll tell you one of them. One of them was First Person I. Yeah.
Like literally first person.
First person I. Just like that. First person I.
Okay.
Yeah. And then another one was Awkwards, because I could be a little awkward,
I like that one.
Yeah. But there was another guy that had the name Awkward.
Okay.
And you have to battle for a name. That's how it goes. And he was a great battle rapper. So I could.
So you lost.
He lost.
He lost the awkward name.
Yeah. So I had to give it up. And but thank you for being our first guest, Russ.
Glad to be here.
I appreciate it. Yeah, this was great. And thank you for doing this and teaching me and everything that I hope I do a great job and I make you proud here.
You will. I'm great.
And he's passing it down to me. So it's like a circle.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, once again, thank you. And tomorrow's show, we are going to have Troy Love. He's going to be with us and he's going to talk a little bit more about communication. And he is the reason why I'm here actually at this show, because he told me to pitch the boss man here, and so I did it, and now we have the show here. So we're going to hear from Troy. And thank you to everybody that helped make this show possible. Appreciate you guys, Talon, Anthony, Juan, Cecilia over there, and
thanks, team.
Make sure you check out the show tomorrow right here and streaming live on the Border Radio Facebook page and YouTube page. And with that, I think I'm going to take a look here. So we're still practicing. I think that's it.
Yeah, what time is it?
How much time do we got, Talon?
How much time?
We can't hear you.
We're working this out. This is live, and this is one thing that Russ taught me. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yep. No. Okay. Well, I think that's it. We're going. We'll be back tomorrow with Troy Love.